Good afternoon. So, show of hands, who knows what an afro is? Afro. Okay, cool. Who's had the privilege, the distinct honor of touching an afro? All right, that'll work. That'll work. So, as some of you may know, kind of spongy, depending upon the texture of the hair. When I was little, I grew up in a real cool community. I mean, very diverse. Predominantly white, Asian, and where I lived, there were a lot of Mexicans. And everybody had flowy hair. We were riding down the street, riding bikes real fast, what I'm saying? Look at what hair blowing in the wind. I was like, yeah, me too, let's do this. Get this afro to flow in the wind. And it didn't flow. So, in there, my dad was raised in Mississippi. And I just found out about 5 years ago of his background. More white than he is black. And so I'm probably one of the coolest white guys you guys have ever met. But he grew up in Mississippi, and he has that story that you oftentimes hear of, that he worked for the man in the dry cleaners, and they got into an argument with the son, hit him upside the head, and thought he killed him, and got run out of town by the Ku Klux Klan, and the whole 9 yards, right? But when I was growing up, he never told me that story. I just learned that about 5 years ago. So in my house, race was never an issue, right? It was never even a topic. He just recently told me all the issues he had around race. So for me, I've always been fascinated with people. And I have a friend in San Francisco named Matt David, a Jewish guy, and I'm really fascinated with him because I'm not Jewish. So I get to ask him all the questions, and he calls me his Mushkuk. And Matt David. So we have a lot of great friends, and Oakland is a real colorful place. It's one of the coolest places on the planet, despite what the news tells you. And we got to get some of that eye report and ground report going so that we can straighten the story out. But one night we're hanging out back in February '08 with Hillary and Obama, and they were kind of trying to sort out who was going to run for president. And so our friends were sitting around and discussing, what are we going to do with our lives? What are our kids going to say? Kind of like what Susie was talking about, when you're 70. Your 70th birthday party, what are people going to say you did? What are your kids going to be able to say you did to kind of continue the movement, or what did you do great for the world? And so my friends were asking that question when we saw this kind of historical moment happen. And so I thought about that, and then going back to my high school days where, the guidance counselor like Mr. Mackey here from South Park, they did their best, and I think they worked with the tools they had to work with, but I think the tools were quite inadequate. I have a photographer friend who's an amazing photographer. He was told that he should be a ceramics researcher. There's a lab somewhere that researches ceramics, and you should go there and find out how to do that. And my wife, who's beautiful, they told her, because she's good with people and chatty, that she should be a hairstylist. Right? That's crazy. Everybody knows she's a beautician, not a hairstylist. Okay? That's a joke. She's not. She's fine though. Anyway. So anyways, I come from the graphic design community. I'm a graphic designer, been in the industry for a long time, and I've been blessed to work for Apple and Turner Duckworth, doing projects, and a lot of other really cool people, and teach at my alma mater, where I went to school in San Francisco. It's been great for me, right? I will say that the graphic design industry is not very colorful as far as the people makeup. It's pretty white. It's not really rocket science, but it's not racist. Right? I never found but a few occasions where I went to the marina in San Francisco. And if anybody guys know the marina, it's a little, one way over there. And, I got some funny looks, which is fine. We all, hey, that's the way it is. That's not the source of this project. But the AIGA for years has been trying to get the design industry more diverse, from talking to members and some of the people on their diversity council and things like that. They just don't quite know how to do it. And I'm not saying I know how to do it at all, but all those things kind of came together to start this project called Colored by Design. Colored by Design is a cool play on words, at least I think it's cool. I came up with it. It's really that play on words. To be colored, one, there's the old school term of what they used to call anybody that was not of European background, they were colored. Then there's colored, to be biased or jaded by, and then by design with purpose, and in my case, by design, by the art of graphic design, industrial design, and all those great things that shape our world around us. So that project was born. So It's basically a documentary that I'm putting together where I'm interviewing all these great people. I've just started, it's in its infancy, and Julianne was kind enough to say, hey, you should come out and share and tell us about it. And it forced me to sit down with the hours of footage that I have and go through and try to find those really compelling snippets and nuggets to share with you guys today. So I spoke with Joanne Chan at Turner Duckworth. Her story's awesome. She used to be an art dealer here in New York, and she worked with the Guggenheim, and she started Gen Arts, a nonprofit deal in San Francisco. Mary Scott, she's the director of design at the Academy of Art College in San Francisco, and she's worked for Capitol Records and Revlon and all kinds of great people. Jamie Calderon, he worked for Landor Associates, which is one of the biggest brand agencies brand design firms in the world. And he done, now he's working for a smaller firm where he's done all the Adobe Photoshop stuff, ACG logo for Nike, ESPN stuff, tons. Maurice Woods worked for Pentagram. He was a professional basketball player. Matt Pavlosik is a musician and got his start and his passion from going with his dad to car shows. And Abby Gong, she recently got married about 3 or 4 years ago. She basically kind of pulled back out of the design industry and focused more on doing bridal stuff, right? Invitations and that whole bridezilla world that I'm sure she loves now. So I put together just a few snippets of some of the conversations that these folks have shared with me, and I just want to share them with you guys.
Came to the realization that basketball, it wasn't going to take me to the NBA. And I should probably add this, I played professional basketball in Europe for 7 years after I graduated, so my passion was graphic design, my job was basketball.
My main goal was not to, make a lot of money, but really do something that I loved, and I knew that I could continue doing this onwards because I enjoyed it so much. Like, it wasn't work for me anymore, it's something I enjoy doing. And it's interesting to note that because I'm the oldest in the family, it was like kind of this breakthrough, kind of breaking the parents in, and then it turns out my brother now works for an airline, my sister is a pastry chef, so they became more open to encouraging us to do what we love to do.
What I got to see, which was really interesting, the art department at the time at Capitol Records, the creative director was Japanese, another one of the designers was Japanese, Bill Brown, who I'm still in contact with, was an African American, probably one of the only ones that worked in the building at that time. There was a Jewish guy, John Van Hammersveld, who did Endless Summer, that famous poster. So there was great diversity. So I never thought about design being non-diverse. What I did think about it was mostly men. So for me, the diversity came with seeing more women become designers.
Lots of Germans, Germans always have a high level of design. So my experience at Landor, all German, all Europeans, and myself. I was like the only kid from California in Landor. As far as the designers, there's only a couple people from the United States that were working at Landor at the time. It was all Europeans. And then I go to Tulsa, smaller field, all California people, which is kind of weird.
If I'm just focusing for a moment on, population, African Americans are 12%. Right?
Well, here, give you another story. Out of designing in San Francisco since 15 years now, I've met 2 black designers, you and Michelle. That's it, 2. That's kind of like, that's it, just 2. It's kind of crazy to think about it.
So the conversation, when I started the project, I asked everybody, give me your background and how you came to find, how it came that you discovered this profession, graphic design. And the backstory is great, right? The backstory is absolutely fantastic. And in that backstory, we found out that there's a lot of challenges. I mean, like Abby mentioned, I've got the Asian family background. They want me to be professional. Being an artist and making a life go of it is just not practical, right? You're not going to make any money. It's going to stink. You know, Maurice had some really, interesting background in that he came from Richmond, California, which is a little bit north of San Francisco, a little bit, Vallejo area, and it has a huge crime problem. And it's bad. The only way out of there, they believe, is through sports or music. And like Joanne, like I said, she kind of grew up here in New York, and her dad was a surgeon, and her mom was a fine artist, so she had a different level of exposure. Jamie had his parents in an ad agency, so he got to see it. I didn't learn about graphic design until I was 23, or 21, actually. It was an arts teacher that I had in a small college that saw my passion for unity and variety and color and balance and things, and he said, man, you'd really be interested in graphic design. And he was a guy that, wore the Hawaiian shirt and had hot rods, white hair. And I call him a sincere friend because he actually took me and saw the passion that I had and put me on the right path. So when I speak of the guidance counselors, I only speak, I want this project to ultimately be a tool for them and tool for those other creative minds that don't think that they have an outlet. I mean, I got Ken Robinson's book. He was one of the speakers at TED. His book's called The Element. And in The Element, he speaks about this girl who, was a dancer. Nobody knew it. They thought she was a problem child. And she turned out to go on to, do all the, Andrew Lloyd Webber and do Phantom of the Opera and all these great things. Multimillionaire, huge production company. She's amazing. But everybody wanted to write her off as being a problem child and not recognize that she's actually a dancer. And so I got two beautiful kids. One of them sounds like he might be a film director and a writer because he's always telling everybody what to do. And my other daughter, she's awesome, and she is an artist. Daddy, I'm gonna be in my office doing my work, and she's over there cutting and drawing and everything. So there's so much. And recently, NPR did this speak with a demographer from Ogilvy, Peter Franchisi, I believe it is, and he said there's no longer the average American consumer, and the 2010 census is going to kind of prove that out. We're a very complex society, very multi-generational, multicultural, and advertising as usual is just not going to cut it. So now, more than ever, we need more people, in my opinion, of color and of different backgrounds to speak to all these different complex little microorganisms that we've broken off to, like Scott had in his speech, with all the little urban land groupies in Vallejo. We need people to advertise and to market and to talk to them if we want to help keep the economy going. And I think because we don't have that diversity in some of our industries, that might be why the economy is bad. No? Nothing to do with derivatives or anything like that? I don't know. So, nevertheless, we live in a very colorful world. I love being a part of this colorful world, and I think that we should all help bring others into this colorful world that we all get to enjoy. Thank you.